Hi, I'm Asia Jefferson, field reporter for KBEV6. Do you think that you're addicted to your cell phone? How much time do you spend on your phone? And do you think that you use your phone as a way of procrastination? Well, we're going to get to the bottom of it, asking kids on Beverly campus whether or not they think they're addicted to their phone. Oh, do you think that you're addicted to your cell phone?
You know what, Asia? No, I don't consider I'm addicted to my cell phone.
Yes.
No.
How many hours do you spend on your cell phone? No, never mind.
Maybe around like 3 hours a day.
On a day, probably around 2. A day, probably 3.
On average, how many times do you check your phone a day?
Whenever my dad calls, usually. Because if I don't, I'll get in a lot of trouble.
What apps do you spend most of your time on?
Oh, definitely Flappy Bird, Twitter
And Instagram. Mostly my Facebook app.
The average person checks their phone about 150 times a day. The most downloaded app is Candy Crush, and no one ever really talks on the phone anymore nowadays, but you have to think quantum mechanics, or we wouldn't have cell phones at all. So that's all we have here for you guys today. Back to you guys at the desk.